call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, if you would take the roll call.
All right, Mr. Braun.
Present.
Mr. Moore. Present. Ms. Faith Snook.
Present.
Ms. Reclue. Present. Ms. Zabacher.
Present.
Mr. Shiverdecker.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
And Mr. Stone.
Here.
8 council members present.
Thank you. We have Pastor Mark Coomer here to do our invocation.
Father God, thank you for all that are here tonight, for the heart to serve that you've given them. Thank you for the community that you've placed us in, and Lord, the authority that you've given. I pray that that is wielded in a manner that reflects well on you and that truly serves the folks of this community. Lord, I pray for clarity over any indecision and boldness, and Lord, ask that when this night is over and this council chamber is empty and all go home to family, that all would rest well, knowing that they have served well. Ask your blessing on them, and thank you for their willingness. Thank you for the willingness of Christ, and it's in his precious and holy name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Mark. All right, at this time we have comments from visitors. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to the council, if you would come on up and limit your words to 5 minutes or less, and just give us your name and address. Seeing no one come forward, we will move on. We've got next our approval of the consent agenda. Council members may choose to remove an item for discussion prior to approving the consent agenda. We have 4 items this evening. The approval of City Council meeting minutes of December 17th, 2019. Approval of Council meeting minutes of January 14th, 2020. Approval of Council meeting minutes of January 16th, 2020. And the approval of the Director of Administration report.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the DOA report or any issues with our minutes that anybody caught? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Very good. Thank you. And next up, we have presentation and acceptance of our December financial report. Mrs. Holschlag, if you would.
Okay. I'll start off by telling you we've recorded 11 months of sales tax, and we're 3% ahead of the same period in last year. So we only have 1 more month left to recognize. I don't have, so we can only hope for the best. I did note that I posted the property taxes in November, so that is included in your year-to-date total. We had $687,000 in property tax that we expect to collect, and $40,000 in city stickers. And in December, we always collect annual rents. The airport collected $34,000 for farmland rent, and we collected about $22,000 for the property out on H. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Kathy, can you speak to the encumbrance?
Yes. The council voted to allow the mayor to sign a contract in the amount of, I believe, $8.9 million for the Parks and Recreation Center. As soon as the contract was signed, it became legal and binding, purchase order was issued, so that becomes an encumbrance. That encumbrance shows up on the Parks and Rec Administration expenses for December. Now, at year end, that encumbrance will have to be rolled over to 2020. And I believe the expenses to date, $520,000 is what we've spent. So we're waiting to see if anything else comes in. I don't anticipate anything. That last invoice for $160,000 or so was not included in this statement. I think it came in a couple of days after I issued it.
So the year-end operating statement will just show those expenses? those
Right.
expenditures,
Yes.
And then the encumbrance will roll?
Will roll
along
over
with
to-
the budgeted?
To 2020, yes.
Okay.
The money's in the 2020 budget.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kathy. I
So-
appreciate that explanation.
And I will also transfer the monies from the utilities, once I'm sure everything's in.
Okay, thank you.
On the health fund, there's going to be another month of expenditures there, correct?
Well, what I will have to do, not exactly another month of expenses, but I will have to accrue back I wait until March, and any claims that were incurred in 2019 but not filed until 2020 that they are aware of, I have to accrue that amount back. And it's typically, the last couple years, it's been around $70,000.
Because right now, on this statement, we're 145 to the good.
Right. And if it's 70, we would, but, yeah. That's historically what that has run.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
Very good. Have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. That's approved. Thank you. Unfinished business, Parks and Rec update on the rec center. Kyle's been our lead man on this.
Yeah, Parks and Recreation Center. A little bit of a project going on over there at Veterans Park, don't we?
It's looking
I've got
different.
some pictures here today, and we'll talk a little bit about it, and then I'll answer some questions. Again, River City Construction is a general contractor. SFS Architecture is our architect on the job, and of course, we're city folks are doing some heavy lifting from inspection to utilities, other various site work and work involved. So we also have engineering surveys and services hired to do concrete testing and such. So the project started in October. You see the kind of the site, the very top picture is looking to the north. It's framed by State Street and to the left, and A Street to the bottom of that top picture, and then it's kind of reversed. You're looking to the south on that bottom picture. So, not a lot going on in that photo. November 18th, week of November 18th. A lot of site work, storm sewers, what I'm showing going on here. Week of November 25th, a lot of excavation. This is along the Park Road, where you're looking at where the basketball courts is going to go, and kind of that multi-purpose turf area, that lower section of the building. Pretty good excavation going on there. The very bottom picture is really there to remind me that, in removing a lot of the soil involved, there's a couple locations there was unsuitable soil that had to be over excavated and rehabilitated with suitable soil. So a little bit of a change there to the project, but has to be done to make sure that we've got a good footing, good foundation, good slab, floor, everything else. Again, some more excavation work the following week. You see some old pipes running through those grounds, probably not helping some of those areas that had some bad soil to it.
Is that all abandoned stuff, Kyle?
Yeah, all abandoned. Yeah, all abandoned. There was an existing sewer line that had to be removed, but. December 2nd, you see the site getting a little cleaner down there. This is, again, that bottom section where the basketball courts is going to be. You see the equipment running there. They're compacting. The top right picture and the bottom right picture are showing some fill being added, some low-volume change fill. So, you know, around here, Callaway, we've got a lot of soil, right? So we need to put something under that slab and everything that's not gonna move as much when it gets wet. So hopefully it'll keep that slab floor in good condition and everything in good shape in the building. So you're looking at over a foot of low volume change fill. It's basically waste lime rock is basically what it consists of. Along the park road down there is some more drainage areas. See that rock drainage swale essentially along the road being put in, and that bottom picture, top picture, just another, just some more excavation work.
Is that going to stay like that riprap?
That riprap is pretty well going to stay like that. It'll probably be, you know, dressed up and made safe and everything for traffic. Or safer, but yeah, it will stay like that. Drainage will flow into it and it'll kind of retain some water. December 23rd, the week of December 23rd, we've got footings going in. The very top picture, see that little mini excavator? That's the very bottom of the footing. There's a piece of the footing that knifes into the ground that helps hold everything. So. The bottom pictures are showing the iron workers starting to work on all the re-rod that goes into the foundation, into that footer and foundation wall. The far right picture, you see the hose coming down, concrete's being poured, that footer's being poured. So December 23rd, count your blessings you're not out there tying steel and doing that iron working job, right?
Kyle, just curiosity,
Yep.
how wide is that little mini excavator? I mean, how wide is that?
How wide was that? Is a foot.
About a foot?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, about a foot wide. Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah. December, the week of December 23rd. If you see the very small picture in the very far right, you see the south side of the basketball courts and the south side of the building. You see the wall being formed down there. You see the big picture. There's columns in this building, so that's some rebar that was all tied to help support a column. And you see some foundation wall being formed up. You also see there's a high wall that goes in between the basketball court side of things and the kind of the office building and wrestling room and banquet center above. There's a big high wall that separates it. That wall that you see in the very far bottom right picture, it's about 14-foot high wall, concrete wall that has to be poured. Week of January 6th. Some more concrete work, footing, foundation. You see all that re-rod. It's a bunch of re-rod. The very bottom right picture is our testing company doing some testing on site for each pour that goes on. January 13th. I see some snow in that top left picture. Again, just reminding us that the contractor is dealing with weather and everything else. He's been pretty good about being on site and working when he can work. So pushing. There's a lot of moisture in the ground. We're dealing with cold weather. So he's trying to get a lot of this concrete work so he can start getting the building actually erected come springtime. So the very middle picture is just a shot down the high wall. You see that it's been poured. It's a pump truck pouring almost all of this concrete. January 20th, you see the forms pulled off of that wall. A lot of concrete and steel going in right now. And that's pretty well where we're at right now, guys. They've got about, I'll ballpark it about 50%, a little over 50% of that of that basketball court area that they've got footers and foundation wall. They have a lot more foundation wall than 50%, but trying to get that footer in ahead of it and forming that foundation wall is what they're pushing for. Again, once all this concrete goes in, they're really pushing to get it in. They're hoping weather cooperates this spring. The pre-engineered metal building erection, they're hoping to get that pre-engineered metal building here come April 1st, so they can start actually erecting the building. And that'll take about a 4-month process just to erect the building. Any questions so far? Anybody have anything?
Yes, on the soil that's compromised or that was, how's that treated? That's taken away or?
Yeah, it's taken away and hauled off and then rehabilitated with rock or suitable
So
soil
there's a
and
way to tell
compacted and.
that everything's safe?
Yep.
What we're putting in is,
Yep.
that's a lot of,
It wasn't really
And the testing
contaminated.
company also,
Wasn't really contaminated, it just wasn't suitable to
right,
build on top
right,
of.
just
oh,
really soft.
for the structure?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So is there an estimated completion date?
Well, we had our bi-weekly meeting today, and the contractor still feels like he's on schedule to hit that October, November timeframe of 2020, so.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I know that it all hinges on that pre-engineered metal building getting here at the right time and getting it erected. So once it's erected, then a lot of other subcontractors can come in and do it. But, April 1st, there's a lot of moisture in the ground could be. So, that they haven't even started on that upper section, the foundation and for it. So, there's still a lot of concrete and steel work to be done. So,
Right, and then finish work inside.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's nature.
Yeah.
What?
Any other questions? Money-wise, we're the last pay application, we're about 6% complete, if you're looking at money. Anything else?
At the
Kathy, is there
pace.
anything you want to add to that?
I think we pretty much covered it when we talked about the encumbrance and how much money I think we pretty much covered it when we discussed the encumbrance and how much we've spent to date. So the last invoice we paid was through December. So unless something unexpected turns up, it'll probably be it for 2019.
Good, thanks, guys. Appreciate the update.
Thank
And
you.
we'll continue to get those as this goes along. Moving forward, new business, we had a little contest to fill a voided space on our billboard out on the highway. And I believe Mrs. Hochschlag has a winner for us. This went out to the whole community for folks living in the city limits to submit a slogan. The chosen winner will get $100 off their utility bill. Is that right?
We'll figure, yes.
Yeah. So there's some skin in the game, as we say. So
Low score wins.
Low score wins.
yeah, without further ado.
Can I have a drum roll, please?
Each council person turned in a ballot when they arrived at the meeting tonight. Kathy has done the
I
tabulation.
have 8 of them. And the winner is Fulton, small town with a big heart.
Very good, excellent. And who submitted that? Do we know?
Oh,
I did not give you that, but we will have that tomorrow morning when I look at them again.
Cool. I'm sure they know who they are.
Helen, I'll get with you tonight.
We had lots of good submissions. Some of the other ones here, we had 5 top ones. The Small Town with a Big Heart, that was our winner, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and actually, just to make it official, if we can get a motion to make
Oh.
that.
I move to accept the tally and the adoption of Fulton, small town with a big heart.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Yes.
And opposed? No. So, very good. We'll get that going. Probably have it up by spring-ish,
That's a nice time
maybe.
frame.
But some of the other top finishers, I'll just point those out here. We had, 90-some entries? So, very good turnout. Fulton, Your New Journey Begins Here was a top one. Fulton, Big Town Pride, Small Town Living, pretty catchy one. Fulton, For a Day or a Lifetime, I like that one. And Fulton, A Great Place to Visit, Awesome Place to Live. So thanks again for everyone participating in that, and it's a fun way to take care of some business for us. Moving on, we have a little bit to talk about with solar energy. I don't know, Bill, who you want to lead this?
Mr. Dunlap will be speaking at the podium.
We had a U-Board meeting yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah, the U-Board met yesterday. The U-Board and staff's been working on solar several years now. And slowly the prices have been coming down. And we wanted to make sure that if we brought something to this council, it was the right product at the right spot at the right time. And I think we're there. Columbia is building a solar farm. It ties into the substation that we take power from at Bolstead, so it ties almost directly to our line that comes from Columbia to here. As I said, we've been looking at solar a long time. The prices we've had in the past, if we The city does have 3 megawatts of hydro that comes from the Corps of Engineer dams like Bull Shoals, Cannon, some in Oklahoma like 10 Killer. What we would be doing of that 64 megawatts, we would be buying a percentage of the output. So if the units put out 50 megawatts on a cloudy day, we would be taking a percentage of that 50 for each hour. We have talked to TEA about it. Columbia's talked to TEA. That's something else that kind of makes this nice. We both use the Energy Authority. We're both in MISO. Columbia is our control area that reports to FERC and CERC and all that stuff. So everything fits. The U-Board yesterday voted to recommend to the council that we go ahead and try to work this contract out. They did a contract with University of Missouri a few years ago on a wind project. And I think Columbia and Fulton's both wanting to use that contract that was done as kind of the starting point for the Fulton-Columbia contract. So very similar projects. One's wind, one's solar, but the partners are very similar.
Okay.
Over the past several years, Daryl and myself and the utility board and others have spent hours talking to various vendors and different companies that would be willing to provide us either solar energy through a farm someplace else or through constructing a solar farm here in town. Just a few years ago, the price they were quoting us was like in the $70 range. A couple years ago, it was in the $50 range. The reason that Daryl and I and no one else ever took this to the utility board is because $70 power and $50 power, even though we could have said we're getting some green energy, it just didn't make financial sense. We didn't think we wanted to pay that much premium to get some green energy. But now this one's coming in at 31. In the last year, solar energy has come down a lot. At $31.65, it fits our energy. Yes, sir.
I understand 3165 very well, but that is per megawatt, is that correct?
Correct, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Per megawatt. You know, we throw the numbers out there and
Okay, to make it probably easier to understand, when we first got this number, we took another solar farm that we could get output from that was already existing, and we ran that against the market prices we would have been paying for that power. And through our numbers, and remember this is a fixed deal with no transmission, it was about a $5,000 to $5,500 loss for market power today. Columbia ran the same numbers, and their number on 3 megawatts is $6,500. So we kind of figure that since we obviously use a different solar farm than Columbia did for their comparison, that we feel our numbers is it's pretty much a push against the market right now. But there is risk with transmission. We have Prairie States. We go on the market and we buy transmission across per month. And like the last 2 months, 3 months of last year, with transmission outages, it flipped on us. So our hedge was backwards. So that was a cost of $16,000 just because of the outages. So you're taking some of that risk away with this, but it is a fluid market, and the solar fits better than the wind. We're long at night.
You just read my mind.
We're long at night.
Why is that, Daryl?
Well, we got 2 base coal plants. We got Sykeston, we have Prairie States. That's 20 megawatts. In the spring and falls, when people aren't using air conditioning and you know, people have actually, our peak has dropped. Our peak has dropped because people's buying more efficient stuff, more efficient refrigerators, LED lighting. So our peak's actually dropping, but our peak, so therefore in the hot summer, Columbia is really going to be seeing the sun. That's when our air conditioners here in Fulton is really pushing it out. So it fits our load profile, and it fits locally
And
with our
wind,
weather.
the reason we have no interest in wind, because wind typically blows in the middle of the night. On a hot summer day, the windmills are standing still. But our solar panels are going to be putting out. And with the wind generation at night, Daryl already said we have, in the middle of the night, we have plenty of power, almost year round. So we don't need any more nighttime power. We need it on the bright, sunny, hot days.
Well, the local sounds good to me too, being, you know.
It's local.
Right.
This wind farm, are you familiar with where like 3M is in Columbia?
Yes.
Up on B?
Yeah.
B?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
If you drive on BB in about a year, you will be able to see these panels. There's going to be a couple hundred acres on it.
It's just B.
B.
Yeah, it's just big.
About big.
Yep. There's places in Illinois that are paying to get rid of their wind at night right now.
Yeah.
That's
well,
how
wind will
off that
produce
is.
1 megawatt.
Right.
Which is
It
very
almost
low.
takes more power to run a wind farm than it
does.
draws off the wind.
So I guess what Daryl and myself are looking for this evening, kind of the number, we've talked about a lot of numbers, and I'm not sure that we've even totally both agree on the same number yet. But if we said 5% of 64 megs, that's going to be 3.2 megawatts.
So just so we use about 64 megawatts a day.
No,
No,
That's what the wind farm will,
that's what
or
the
the
that's
solar
what the
farm.
solar farm's full output is.
When it's operating at full capacity in the middle of June when the sun is hot,
Okay.
it will produce 64 megawatts per hour.
And what do we use as the city?
On a peak day, about 37
About 37.
per hour. When it's hot summer.
And just for comparison, what do we pay for our coal-generated electricity right now? I mean, you
If
said it
you-
was almost a push.
It's a
on
push
peak
against
time.
the market. In the market, you just buy energy. With our coal plants, we have capacity that comes with them. We don't have to buy.
Right.
This is solar, so it'll be intermittent resource, so its capacity will be derated because it's intermittent, just like our hydro is. But it's in the ballpark with the other two plants.
Okay.
We're very fortunate, actually. We're the only other municipality that's getting to buy into this
point.
farm.
And we work with Columbia great. I mean,
We always have.
we had an issue on this 54 business up there around Ovid Bell where our equipment wouldn't pull in the primary. It was too long of a run, and we didn't want to put another big box in. Columbia sent a crew over and helped us. You know, didn't take any pay for it. They just came and did it because they knew we would do the same for them.
Yeah. They've done,
That's
we've helped you.
that's the type of work the two cities have with each other.
And I'm not trying to cut discussion at all, but if we could just get a motion to authorize Daryl and me to continue to negotiate with Columbia on the formation of this
Contract.
purchase of power contract.
Can I ask one more question
sure.
before then?
Sure.
Do we have an out-of-pocket expense to
No-
the city?
no, sir.
Okay, so they're doing it and we're just agreeing?
The developer is
To-
doing it. The only thing that we would have, if it's normal, is once they start doing startup, there will be some startup power produced. It probably won't be scheduled, and we'll have to, buy that on an unscheduled basis, just like you would a coal plant
Agreeing to buy
output.
X amount
To go
Yes, sir.
in.
of power?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Whatever comes out, we will be purchasing a portion of that.
Okay.
So have we figured out what portion we want, or,
We're
Are we-
kicking around 5% right now. It should be 3.6.
so you're saying 3 megawatts, that's 10% of what our peak load is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Daryl,
Go ahead, Steve.
ahead.
No, you had a question. I was gonna do something else.
is there, on any of the new homes being built, are we finding any more people using solar? Because I noticed on Center Street, there's a couple of houses now that have panels.
Kathy keeps up with that better than I do, but I think we've got like 4.
Do it?
One on Fifth Street, one out on National Court, one on the south end of town, Rice Road. Center, and we have a commercial one out on South Business.
So we do have people that's starting to.
We have.
Okay, thank you.
Rice Road is our most recent one.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion, we
What's them?
we authorize the utility department to continue to pursue this contract to purchase 5% from the Columbia Solar Farm.
When you want to leave the number out, and I'll go along with it.
I'll leave the number out. To purchase the appropriate amount.
There's your second.
Yeah, the city may prefer to break that out as 3 or 4 megs.
Second.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, he has a second.
Very good.
Okay.
And we got one more comment?
The timing on this, even though it's not going to come online until anticipated 2023, they're trying to get their ducks in a row.
Sure.
Daryl just said some very nice things about City of Columbia. The Daryl of Columbia, who's been there for 20 years, is retiring in March. It is,
Yeah,
it
of
is
course.
kind of his personal goal that we get this put together.
So we would try to get this contract done by March,
We're gonna
or before this gentleman leaves.
We're gonna get it as far as we can.
But we wouldn't have to put out any money until the
Right.
farm goes online.
Until the farm goes on.
Correct.
Okay.
And when we get all the way to that point, what we're looking at that would be the solid number is that percentage that we're agreeing to purchase, right? You know, the purchase, or is it the purchase price that's
Ask
kind
it
of going to
again.
be?
Ask it again.
Please.
Somewhere.
The purchase price is locked in at the
31.65. It's
That's
Okay,
gonna
so
be
it's
locked
the
in.
purchase price that's going to be locked in for this 20-year period?
Yes.
Yep.
Not the percentage amount that we're agreeing to buy from
The
them?
percentage would be as well.
It would be as
It
well, but
would
we
be as
haven't,
well.
we haven't agreed on that percentage yet.
Okay.
But that would be locked in.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
But tomorrow we'll be able to call the utility superintendent in Columbia and let him know
That we're,
we're in. Then we get together for 20 minutes someday and talk about how much we want.
Okay.
And they'll begin drafting the documents.
So did I just hear right, we're gonna lock in 3165 for 20 years?
Yes.
That's a bold move on somebody's part. But I'm good with it.
Is the farm itself owned by a speculative owner?
I wouldn't call it speculative, it's a developer that owns other farms around.
You know, with solar,
But
there's very
It's
little.
being
offer-
developed by that developer, but it's going to be owned by City of Columbia?
No.
I don't believe so, owned by the developer.
We're all going to be contracted with this,
Our contract would be with Columbia.
with Columbia. Columbia will have a contract with the owner of the solar farm.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
yeah.
So in that, will we have periodic maintenance and upkeep?
That's in the 3165.
Okay, that's included.
Responsibility of the owner.
Good random.
Thank you, Darrell.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you,
I
guys.
have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
Let's
Cool.
take a
Very
look
good. We're going green.
at it. Yeah.
We can tell, take it away, Mr. Johnson.
You know, we've discussed before that the company that we use to transport the gas to Fulton wants to raise their rate. The city of Fulton will begin getting charged that rate with the March consumption. The city of Fulton will be increasing the gas rate to the consumer with the bill that the consumer receives in April. Right now, every customer in town pays 75 cents per unit on their utility bill. With the council motion for the April billing, we're requesting that rate go to 0.875. It'll be an increase to 0.875. We are fighting the proposed rate increase, and if we're successful, there may be some relief, but we don't want to promise anyone that it will come back down. We are passing the rate cost on to the consumer. We can't eat that much.
Bill, can you enlighten people what if the increase went in December with what we used, what that dollar amount was? Are you allowed to do
Our
that?
provider,
Because this will stagger people.
in the month of December, I gotta do some math, 104,000 hundreds. We used 104,000 decatherm. Add 2 zeros right there. So basically, 10,400,000 units based on your bill. The city of Fulton actually paid in December $41,000 to move that gas from Kansas to the city of Fulton. All right, we paid $41,000 at the old current rate. If that had been at the new rate, the newly proposed rate, instead of 41,000, the city of Fulton would have been billed $186,000.
$140,000 increase.
That's why the city of Fulton has partnered with probably 20 other communities to share the cost in fighting.
What's your FERC word?
Yeah. Easy.
Intervening?
Don't FERC
Litigation.
it up.
I'm not,
Yeah, just,
I gotta remember that.
that's a
And-
good one, yeah.
In contesting this rate increase to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
Yes, that's wrong.
You have-
What's it gonna mean for the average household? $15 a month-ish, 15, $20 a month?
The average household uses about 25 to 26 decatherm. So it could mean 25 bucks, 20, 30 bucks on them. So their gas bill that they receive in April could be about $25 more than it would have been had we not
No,
had.
no. The rate's only going up 12.5 decatherm.
It's going up 12.5 cents.
Per unit, okay, thank you.
See, and I
So times, yeah,
myself,
add the
every once in a
zeros.
while, even I get confused. We buy it in 1,000 cubic feet, which is a decatherm, but we sell it in 100 cubic feet.
Oh, that's
Okay,
confusing.
so
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this explanation as the consumer would see it on their bill in
Right.
100 cubic
Yep.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Mayor, as a consumer of natural gas, I have many appliances in my house, my furnace, my stove, my water heater.
Sure.
I am a natural gas consumer, but at the same time, as a city councilman, I completely understand that the city utility board cannot absorb this cost. So I so move that we accept the rate hike to 87.5 cents per unit.
And do I have a second?
I would second that, and I would say the same thing, is it's just, it kills me to see it going like it is. At the rate it is. But yeah, we cannot absorb the cost. We would look at close to $1 million in a year if we don't do this.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. Typically, we like to limit our citizens' vulnerability to this type of thing, but we just don't have a choice.
We don't.
Our hands are tied, it's not our fault, but we're all gonna have to suffer a little bit for it, at least for the time being.
At least we are coming into some of the more moderate months where the consumers will not be using as much natural gas, and maybe we can get this whole thing resolved prior to the next heating season.
Yeah, good point.
What gets me is, if you're talking about, like Ameren, wanting to raise electric rates. They'll say they want to raise electric rates, but they have to go to the PSC to get approval. And they can't raise their electric rates until PSC approves it. But when you're talking interstate, like FERC, the federal government, the way the law is written, is Panhandle can raise their rates until we tell them no, or until FERC tells them no. And so it's an automatic rate increase that we can't stop.
There's no control.
Yeah,
Right now, we don't.
so we just have to intervene in the court system and try to, that might take 6 months, 9 months, a year, who knows?
And we just can't really divulge a lot of that details, but.
No.
Well,
going
we don't have
forward,
that
We're
detail.
gonna be fighting it, and, so.
One point I would also just make real quick, because it is a rate increase, you all know we typically do those by ordinance. Actually, the council had already passed by ordinance an increase, and Bill can probably tell you what the cap on that was. We have not had to raise those rates to meet that cap at this point. So that's why tonight we're doing it by a motion for you to acknowledge this increase. We're not having to do it by ordinance, it's already been authorized.
Thank you.
$1.40.
For
Was that authorized?
gas or for electric?
Gas.
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 Okay.
$1.40 is in
Okay.
the ordinance.
14.
So we've got the proper procedure in place. I have a motion and a second. If there's no other questions, I will call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you.
Maybe.
Thank you, Daryl. Oh, you're still here, wow. Grotto lift
Want a
station.
chair?
On a stool.
We should need a stool.
Believe it or not, we're going to talk about wastewater, and compared to what we've been talking about, this is actually fun. It's not normal for sewer. The construction's going fine for Route O. We did hit rock about the last 500 feet of line. And it wasn't gravel that you could scoop out, it was chip and scrape and chip and scrape. But, we have the force main to the site, almost to the pump area, wherever the pumps will be. We lack having some piping with some valves, which those bids are going out to get those purchased. We have the concrete boxes for the wet well and pipe vault is bought. They're not delivered yet. They was supposed to be delivered this week. We do have an 18-foot deep hole to put this 16 by 16 by 18 box in. But as everybody knows, it rained and it snowed, and there is no way we can get that truck in there or a crane to set that with. We have done a sandy check on our cost. Right now, we're about $602,000 is what we spent. That got the force main, that's got the contract for the pumps and the controls and the generator. All that is included in that number. So what is not included in that number is the cost of the boxes that's going to be delivered, and that's between $30,000 and $40,000. The valves and piping that we like, which is going to be, should be less than $100,000. So Kyle and I and Mike Teal met again this afternoon, and we all three feel that we're going to come in under $900,000 time this is all done, which is somewhere between a 40 and 50% savings off of what we was talking about with going with the consultant. So that's where we're at. We're going to hopefully get these boxes set first week of February. The hose dug, I pumped the water out, and the good part about it being rock, it didn't cave in. Oh, we're going to just pump the water out. And then we'll pour a concrete floor to set the box in. We should be ready to stack the boxes out. So that's where we're at.
Maybe the ground will freeze.
How long is the force main you guys have put in so far?
Well, I remember I was like 2,300 feet, 16-inch.
So it's that big?
Yes, and would like to, while we're thanking people tonight, we would like to thank Lebanon, Missouri, because we didn't have the test equipment to test the pipe to make sure we didn't have a leak.
Oh.
And Lebanon let us borrow their test equipment.
Very good.
So
Yes. Awesome.
Lebanon, Missouri helped us out a lot.
Schedule?
Starting to count from probably the first week of February, we're looking at probably 90 working days. Working days.
Thank
All
you.
weather.
Yeah. Thanks,
Great
Daryl.
job, guys.
Thanks.
Council concerns. I'll start to my left. Councilwoman Sabar.
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilman Simmons.
No items.
Councilwoman Reclue.
Yes, I have one. I know the weather's been bad. We've had a lot of snow this last couple of weeks and all. I'm concerned about the animals, the dogs that people are turning loose. I live out in South Winds. There's a lot of people have animals. I have a dog. I walk her every day, and I know it's hard. The sidewalks aren't, supposedly, our sidewalks should be taken care of. I know we have some that aren't. You open the front door and let your dog go. Well, we had a lady the other day that called me, and she walks every day, a little older lady, and she came around the one corner, and there was a dog had started growling and going after her. She went to a neighbor's house immediately. I asked them if they called the police or anything, and they hadn't, no. But I just want to remind people that, just because it's cold, if you don't have a fence for your dog, keep it on a leash. We have a leash ordinance, and the animal's not safe. The cars that go through aren't safe. It's hard enough to drive with the snow on the streets and all. And I would wish that we would, or I'm asking people to be responsible for your animals. And let's try to keep people safe and our animals, and and that's what I'm worried about. Okay, concerns. Okay.
Very good. Thank you for that. Yep, it's a tough time of year for everybody, but especially our little
Yeah.
guys and gals out in the snow. And
Yeah, sure is. Exactly.
no reason to not do your diligence, so
That's right.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilman Stone?
Just a thank you to our road crews and our police and firefighters that are working during this winter weather.
Yep.
That's it.
It's a tough gig, tough job. Be courteous, folks. Councilman Braun?
Just a thank you to the gas department. I had a constituent, a very close constituent to me in my ward that had some issues with part of the gas line, whether it was the regulator, the meter, whatever, and it was taken care of in a very professional, quick manner, and I want to thank you guys.
Councilwoman Paystuck?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Moore?
Well, I have just a couple. Believe it or not, I held them over from no year. But the first one, I would like to give a thanks. I had talked to Mr. Johnson yesterday about Fifth and Jefferson, and some of the merchants down there and people are very happy that Joe got the potholes fixed, and so I'm letting you know they appreciate it very much. And my second one, this is just food for thought because I'm always throwing out about the park, about non-for-profit, and we go back and forth on it. And I'd like to throw out for something that the council might think of, I haven't talked to anybody else on the council, that all non-for-profits, it would be a half price of what they are renting. So if they want the whole shelter, the kitchen, they can go, then the park director doesn't have to come back and say something else, so we have to go up in the council meeting. And the regular ones, like the JC's Christmas that we forego all that, they stay the same. And so that's just for something the council think about, kind of approach, and then we don't have to always be reading those non-for-profit ones. And my second one is on, I don't know, Mr. Johnson didn't give me a very good response on this one. The banners that the utility department hangs, I would like to say that we should add a $15 or $20 fee for hanging the banner. Just another one for you to think about. Because it does take a little time, a truck and two men, and if it flows up, the wind's heavy, they got to go back out there and straighten it up. So just a thought. And then on my last one I got here is on our new community building we're building. I'd like to see if the park board and the city could come up with, we start a promotion by, we own all of our parks and we own a golf course. So I think we should find a price for a membership and start selling them now. And with that promotion, you buy early. You either get a discount on your shelter or something off on your ground of golf at Tanglewood. But if we need to be productive, I think we should start selling our membership early.
Yes.
Hey, he's talking about in 2020. So, it won't be a bad time to get a program and start working on that. That's all I have, sir.
Very good. And
Could we back up when you're done?
Me too.
You had your turn.
You had your turn.
Yeah, but I was going to wait, but Steve got us on there, so.
So just on what Steve had to say, the Parks and Rec meetings are open to the public, and you can attend, and they're going to have discussion on those things as
Yeah,
well.
good.
So we'll hopefully get a good recommendation from them on what they would prefer us to do, and we can come up with a solution on that. But I like your thought process.
Good.
Very good.
I
Councilman
yield my
Schuerbeck.
concerns to Mr. Braun and Mr. Stone. They seem to have something else they'd like to say.
This
Thank
sounds
you, Rick.
like
Yes.
his impeachment trial. So he's giving some minutes back to you, Mr. Braun. Let's hear it.
Just a quick question, and maybe it can, maybe it can't. If with the parks, with the community center, is that something that the city could bill on a monthly rate if somebody had a family plan and utilities within the city? Could it be added to a utility bill? Maybe,
I would have slight reservations about adding it to a utility bill, because that could affect the shut-off process. It would be difficult to isolate those charges now. As far as charging it on a separate bill, that is not a problem.
it's a good
Auto
suggestion.
drafting.
Auto draft would still be
Okay.
able to be used probably, yeah.
Good suggestion. Of course.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we've came up with a new sign slogan. We have many shelters that have names. Are we considering a naming contest for the new recreational center? Might be an opportunity there as well, get community involvement. And then while we're talking about possible rate discounts and things for our shelters, one thing that's been on my list for a long time, that if we're going to talk about this, we have an entire park called Veterans Park. I would like to see some sort of discount when a veteran wishes to reserve a shelter in Veterans Park.
Don't we,
That's a good,
I don't believe at this time we have any type of discount available to a veteran for Veterans Park, but I would like for that to be considered by the park board.
I think the council has asked repeatedly for a fee structure from the city.
that would be
And I
nice.
think we're supposed to get that either the end of February or the beginning of March.
It's coming February, isn't
The end of
End of
February.
February?
You're right.
Okay,
it?
so that might be a good time
And
to,
I will say, unless they have another meeting, the park board has already met and they do have their document submitted. So it might be something where if we want to bounce some additional ideas off of this.
Have a motion and a second. This is something that we do every year. We've got to keep moving boxes out to make room for new boxes, I'm guessing, so if there's no questions on this, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That resolution passes. And moving on to ordinances, we've got a first read for bill number 1576, if you would, Mr. Braun.
Bill number 1576, an ordinance repealing Chapter 62 of the Historical Preservation Fulton City Code and enacting a new chapter in lieu thereof. I make a motion to place Bill 1576 for second reading at next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This was sent out to us. Some of the changes were highlighted.
Mr. Mayor, could we invite Mr. McDaniel up to possibly answer any questions or comments?
Absolutely.
While Mr. Mayor, while Mr. McDaniel's coming up, I would like to add something to this. I had 2 emails. Both people who lived on court is supporting the amendment to this ordinance, and the other one is currently redoing their home on 830 Court, the old Jameson house. Right. Yeah, and they felt like the changes, they felt very comfortable with it. It wouldn't bother them in their trying to preserve the house as it was. Just putting that in there.
Yeah, good.
Excellent. So just some real minor changes here. A few words here and there. If you have any specific questions, Councilman Stone, or comments, Mr. McDaniel?
I had no specific questions of the changes that were enacted. I did have a question. Section 62-32, paragraph A, or section A, paragraph 1, municipal improvements. The very last sentence, and it's just a wording thing, and it's just that's my personality. There's a part in there where it says any significant deviations from a plan approved by the FHPC shall be resubmitted for further review and recommendation. There really isn't an approval that's given there. It's more of a, I think that, is there an actual approval given to municipal improvements?
No, it's just,
I think, previously reviewed might be a better phrasing there than approved, since there's really not an approval given.
okay.
And that's just me splitting hairs on words.
Do what?
Just a suggestion for that to read, any significant deviations from a plan previously reviewed by the
Okay. I was looking at the
FHPC
end.
shall be resubmitted for further review and recommendation.
Yeah.
If,
And then the comment that I have to make is, I very much support the changes that are in this commission. If we're going to have a historical district, if we're going to be a historic town and value our historic properties, then we need to have this type of document and follow these recommendations and reviews by the historical commission. We need to support them if this is who we're going to be, and I believe that's who this community is.
And if it just makes a minor difference in a few minor things or major things, it's going the right direction.
I just have the concerns that we are going to ask individuals to go through an extra step for a non-binding agreement. And that's where I have the hardship saying, yes, I can agree to these changes.
But I disagree. I think that this is an opportunity for them to share the information that the historical committee has. So I feel that it would be helpful to the homeowner they don't have a rule, you don't have to have this and this and this, but the suggestions and information that could be exchanged to the new homeowner I think would be beneficial.
Kind of about keeping an open mind.
Of course, to know they're welcome and that they're here willing to help.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think, well, I listened when the lady from the state that we talked to pretty much told us, I understand where you're coming from, John. Yes, may not be binding, but for some reason, they like to have that line in there. And I guess if we're sharing it, Mrs. LaCluse, I guess it's just sharing the knowledge of what you believe, how they should, but we can't force them to do it, but she knew that.
Yes.
And so she was okay with it.
It's required by the CLG that the Historic Preservation has opted to participate with. Yes.
So David, has there been any kind of forums or get-togethers with residents of the historical district?
Out of the town.
Exactly.
There's two things that I see. One is, I think you've only got 4 or 5 members?
5.
5, and we have to have 6, which means you, Mr. Mayor, and the Historic Commission have to appoint the 6th member pretty quickly if we approve this. Because I think it gives us 6 months or something?
So that's been in effect for quite some time now.
Yes, we haven't done it yet.
We've been, correct. I know we've been waiting for some kind of approval or some sort of recommendation.
Recommendation.
Right, and we have talked to some people about joining. We had one person come to the meeting that you over there, and she didn't feel like she had the time to do it right now. But she is interested in the future, and we've got some more people to talk to. But we're open to suggestions.
We have to raise pay.
That's right.
Yeah.
double it.
Yeah, 0.
The other thing is just an oh, by the, I don't know if it's an oh, by the way, but it looks like something that once you implement, you're gonna find, ooh, this doesn't work. Or maybe we wanna do it differently. And we're gonna have to make some changes, which isn't a bad thing. But I think we're gonna have to have this come back to us in a year or whatever, after you've gone through it several times, to brush off the corners
That's
and that's fine.
And
It's just,
possible. It was modeled after the city of Washington.
yeah.
And I never did think to ask Dennis, I don't know how many building permits he's issued within the historic districts in the last 12 months. And I don't mean to put you in, but it's possible less than 5,
Yeah.
if that many.
Right.
So this isn't something that's gonna happen all the time. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
it will.
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So it's just something we need to be aware of. We'll
Might
have
be a
to do
work
it.
in progress for a while.
Exactly.
It will be.
And that's why we have the commission to do that.
Right, and I do realize this is one more step in somebody doing a major renovation on our property. We all realize that. We're just trying to slow down some renovations that could drastically change the outcome of a neighborhood, and a historic neighborhood.
And how many of those have you seen that have drastically changed the neighborhood, David, in the last 5 years?
I'm not gonna go public, but if the last 10 years, I've seen several.
Yeah, there's been
They're out there.
Again,
There's
I'm not-
one that made a national magazine.
I'm
You
not,
know, so-
I'm not, I don't want to belittle the time that you and many others have spent on it by any means. And I do appreciate it, but, because your pay's not very good at doing this.
Maybe Helen could put a link to this ordinance in an article, and encouraging residents of the historic preservation districts to go and review and see what any impact that homeowners believe it's going to have on their property. I mean, if it passes tonight, if it gets first read tonight, it's not a done deal.
No.
It's gonna come back in 2 weeks for second read, and it may be completed then, or it may come back 2 weeks after that for the third and final. So there is an opportunity. We can get it out on our Facebook page to get people to look at it and think about it. And just to kind of see what kind of comments we hear from the residents of the historic preservation districts between now and final approval.
And maybe it'll drum up interest in new members to the commission.
Well, I can tell you by going around the state in the central Missouri and even to St. Charles, there are people who come to Fulton just to experience the historical stuff that we have here, whether it's the memorial, whether it's the antique shops and the homes, and so people do come to Fulton, believe it or not, to look at the historical stuff. And it's too bad we don't do something on Hockaday Hill with hope to clean out that hill a bit better for the trails through there. Where you see
We used to
stuff.
sled down that hill. Now they're running people off at Westminster, they're looking for places to sled again. Good thought. All right, thank you very much, David, for your work on this. Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to motion to amend the ordinance to the wording suggestion that I made, changing that one word from approved to previously reviewed.
Discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes. Opposed, no.
No.
That was just for the amendment.
Okay, so now we have the original motion to move it to second reading as amended.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
You're good.
I should be yes on the other one, but whatever, it's fine.
Okay, so now we're back to the original Bill 1576. Did we get a motion on this?
We did,
Yes.
so we have a motion to move it to second reading at the next meeting, now as amended.
Okay, very good. So as amended, I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no.
No,
Very good. We'll hear that again in a couple weeks. We'll move on to Bill number 1573. Councilman Simmons, if you would.
Yes, sir. Bill number 1573, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to the conveyance of city-owned property located at 212 and 214 East 6th Street to River Valley Properties LLC and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to approve Bill number 1573 at second reading and advance it to third and then final reading at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Everybody kind of know what we're talking about here? Okay. Is there any discussion on this?
Maybe.
Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
yes.
Opposed, no. Very good, if you would again.
Bill number 1573, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to the conveyance of city-owned property located at 212 and 214 East 6th Street to River Valley Properties LLC and establishing an effective date. I make a motion we approve the third reading and final reading at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. You've heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final vote.
Okay, Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Pace Snook?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
And Mr. Braun.
Yes.
8 council members affirmative.
Very good. Moving on, Bill number 1574, if you would, Councilman Stone.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1574, an ordinance declaring city property to be surplus property, authorizing it to be sold and establishing an effective date. I move for bill number 1574 to be pushed to third reading at tonight's meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. And if you would again.
Bill number 1574, an ordinance declaring city property to be surplus property, authorizing it to be sold and establishing an effective date. I move 74 meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. You've heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final vote.
Ms. Pace Snook?
Yes.
Ms. Reclue?
Yes.
Ms. Sabacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
And Mr. Moore.
Yes.
8 council members affirmative.
Okay, very good. Moving on to announcements, we have just one tonight. The next city council meeting will be held Tuesday, February 11th. Work session will commence at 6:30 with regular session to follow at 7.